So let's talk about putting these bar joists into your plan. Everybody has their beams in, right? Or at least part of your building would have your beams and columns in already. So now we're going to put our bar joists in. So if you looking at the screen, you'll see that on part of my building here, I have already put the bar joists in. And if I go look at my framing plan, we can see that on this portion of my building, I have already put my bar joists in. Now, steel bar joists are, because we're using metal decking, we can space those, like I said, farther apart than we would in wood frame construction. So in this case, they're going to be between 4 and 5 feet apart, depending on my span. And so I put them in here and I've dimensioned them, and I placed them, and then I dimensioned them, and I hit that equal sign, and they all went equal, right? It adjusted them to being equal. If I click on that equal sign, I can get the actual dimensions of what they are, and they're actually 4'6" and 13/32, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is, on my drawing, is I'm just going to leave it like that, and then the builder can mark off equal spaces across those bar joists for that. So that's the way I'm going to do that. We could actually click on that, and maybe I should make them all 4'6", except one of them might have that fraction in it, right? You could do that too, and just adjust them. Okay, but for now I'm just going to leave them as equal. Okay. So let's go to this side of my building, and let's put the bar joists in. So if we're going to put bar joists in, I'm going to go to Structure. I'm going to go to Beam. And I've already put some in, so they do show up in my beams category here someplace. Okay, so I put some in, and mine were 12K3s. But let's go load those. So if you're into Structure, Beams, Load Family, you're going down to Structural Framing, Steel, and you'll see K-series bar joists. And you'll see K-series bar joists with angled webs or K-series bar joists with rod webs. That means the webbing that's in the bar joist, you have two options. They make both of them. The web could be an angle iron, like a 1x1 angle, or it could be a 3/4 inch rod that's creating that web. Let's use the rod one for this project. So we click on the K-series bar joist rod type web. When you open that, it's going to bring you to another pull down that's going to give you all the sizes available. And we're going to use the 12K1, right? So you click on the 12K1 and say OK. And then you'll have to go find it in here. So there's the 12K1. And looking at the browser here, you can see that it's, in my case, I've set it to top of steel. If you needed to change that, you could. And the Z direction is top, just like the beams we put in yesterday. Laterally, it's going to be the center line of this bar joist. And we have a starting offset and an starting extension, and we have an end offset and an end extension. So, so the starting offset, well, let's just put one in over here and we'll work from that. I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to click on the grid line, and I'm going to drag it out to the other grid line. Okay, so I put one in there. I'm going to throw a section on just to see that one if it's in the right spot. Okay, when I look at that section, of course, it defaults to coarse detail. I want to change that to fine detail so I can actually see it. Okay, and even though I had it set right, it put it at level roof 1 in my case. So it put it at the roof level. So I need to modify the starting level offset and the ending level offset. So I'm going to say I want to change the starting level offset to get it down on top of the steel. The steel is at 8 inches below the top of the roof, is that right? And the bar joist is going to be, if I set the top of the bar joist at 8 inches down, it's going to be at the same level as the steel. And the bar joist has how thick a bearing point on the end? 2.5 inches, right? So I want it up 2.5 inches from the steel. So this should be down then minus 5.5, because 5.5 plus 2.5 would be 8, right? So I'm only going to come down 5.5 inches, both at the start and at the end. And apply that. And now you can see that that bar joist sits right on top of that steel. And it goes from grid line to grid line. Okay. Now if I did want to change the bearing length there, okay, do that. So starting extension. Right now it's at 0. If I put that starting extension at 3 inches, it puts more bearing onto that steel beam, right? And I just guessed at 3 inches, and it's a little bit long. It should have probably been 2.5, huh? Somewhere around there, okay? So we can play with that starting extension to get full bearing on top of that beam. On the other hand, over here, on the ending extension, I have another bar joist that's going to come over and butt into this one, right? So I don't want that one to bear any farther, maybe just the outside one. So in this case, I could take this bar joist and mirror it on that point. And now I have them both on, right? Okay, now I'll go back to my framing plan. And over here I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in there, right? So in this case, I'm going to click on these, copy them multiple times, okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in there, right? So they're randomly spaced at this point. So if I just go to dimension, from grid line to center to center to center, whoops, I cancel that. This grid line, and hit that equal sign. Okay, for some reason I couldn't keep one joint here, but okay, so I didn't move all of these at the same time. That's what the problem was. Okay, so now these would be all equally spaced. And I think I put one too many in, didn't I? Because they're at 3'5" now instead of 4'6". So I need to take one of those out. But that's the fastest way to put them in, is just to randomly space them, dimension them, and hit equals, and they'll all equally space out, and they'll all be in the right spot. Okay. Also, then once you have, I'm going to change this because I don't want that many in there. But if I were to go to copy those, since this grid line space and that one are the same, I could copy it from here to here and have them all there too, right? Okay. So that, again, another advantage of having grid lines equally spaced and spans equally spaced, and which I know some of you don't have all that, but okay, so that's how you put in steel bar joists. One more thing I want to discuss with you before I end this, and that is the connections of the beams to the columns. I think I'll go over that later. I'll just end this video now and we'll talk about that one a little bit later. So go ahead and put in your bar joists, and if you have any trouble, let me know.